Admiral Taeyang Kim stood at the large window of his ship, looking out into the darkness of space. Behind him, the Earth floated like a blue marble. Around Earth, hundreds of stations and platforms formed a ring of metal and light. These were the shipyards where humans had been building their fleet for decades. Everything had led to this moment. For 300 years, humanity had been trapped. The Galactic Council had placed a barrier around the entire solar system. They called it a quarantine. They said humans were too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable. So they locked humanity away like criminals in a prison. Giant automated platforms floated at the edge of the solar system, ready to destroy any ship that tried to leave. For 3 centuries, no human had been allowed to go beyond. Taeyang was born in these shipyards, as was his father and his grandfather. His great-grandmother had been alive when the council first put up the quarantine. She told stories of how the aliens came, looked at humanity with fear and disgust, and decided to cage them. She died waiting for freedom. So did his grandfather. So did his father. But Taeyang would not die in a cage. Behind his ship, the Liberation, 200 vessels waited in perfect formation. Every ship was ready. Every crew member knew their job. This was not just a military operation. This was humanity's declaration that they would be free. The door to the bridge opened. Dr. Hannah Park walked in, carrying her data pad. She was the chief diplomat, the person who would speak for humanity when they finally met other species face to face. She had spent her entire life learning alien languages from the transmissions they intercepted. She knew 17 different alien languages, though she had never met a single alien. "Admiral," she said quietly, "the diplomatic packets are ready. I have prepared messages in every major council language. I hope we get to use them." Taeyang nodded. "We will try diplomacy first, but the council must understand that we are not asking permission. We are taking our freedom." Hannah looked worried. She was young for her position, only 32 years old. But she was brilliant. She believed that humans and aliens could live together peacefully. Taeyang hoped she was right. But he had prepared for the other possibility. Another person entered the bridge. This was Commander Daejin Lee, head of Special Operations. He was quiet and moved like a shadow. His face showed scars from battles with the quarantine platforms. 10 years ago, he had led a mission to test the barriers. His entire squad died. Only he survived. Since then, he had been different. Colder. More focused. "All teams are in position," Daejin reported. "The stealth pods are attached to the platforms. When you give the order, we will disable their targeting systems." "How long will we have?" Taeyang asked. 3 seconds. "Maybe 4? The platforms will reset quickly. But it should be enough. 3 seconds. That was all the time humanity would have to break through 300 years of imprisonment." Taeyang felt the weight of it. Thousands of people on these ships, millions more watching from Earth, billions who had lived and died in this cage, all of them depending on this moment. The final member of his core team arrived. Minji Song was the youngest of them all, only 28. She was the genius who had solved the impossible problem. For decades, scientists tried to find a way through the barrier. The Council's technology was too advanced, the platforms too powerful. But Minji had found the answer. She bounced on her feet, full of energy despite the late hour. In her hands, she held a small device. It looked simple, like a metal box with lights on it, but inside was technology that had taken 10 years to develop. "The quantum resonance generator is ready," she said with a bright smile. "It will create a hole in space-time. The platforms cannot target something that technically does not exist in normal space. We will phase through the barrier." "Will it work?" Hannah asked nervously. Minji shrugged. "Probably. I mean, the math says yes, but we have never tested it at this scale." "Probably," Daejin repeated flatly. "Science is about probabilities," Minji said cheerfully. "Nothing is ever certain." Taeyang allowed himself a small smile. "Then let us make history with probabilities." He moved to the command chair and sat down. Around the bridge, crew members prepared their stations. The ship hummed with power. Outside, the fleet waited. "All ships report ready," the communications officer said. "Commander Lee, initiate Phase 1, Taeyang ordered. Daejin pressed buttons on his console. Far away, at the edge of the solar system, invisible pods attached to the quarantine platform sent out signals. The platforms, which had been active for 300 years, suddenly went silent. Their weapons stopped tracking. Their sensors went dark. "Phase 1 complete," Daejin said. "We have 3 seconds. Dr. Song, activate the generator." Minji pressed her hand against the device. It lit up with blue light. The light spread, covering the Liberation, then spreading out to touch every ship in the fleet. Taeyang felt strange, like his body was in two places at once. The stars outside twisted and bent. Space ripped open. For a moment, Taeyang saw both sides of the barrier. Behind them, Earth and the prison that had held humanity. Ahead, open space, real space, the galaxy that had been denied to them. The quarantine platforms tried to fire, but their weapons passed through the fleet like the ships were ghosts. All ships, maximum acceleration. Taeyang shouted. The fleet surged forward. The Liberation shot through the gap, and behind it, 200 ships followed. They moved as one, a spear of light piercing the darkness. The platforms reset and fired, but too late. The human fleet was through. On the bridge, no one spoke. They stared at the screens, at the open space before them. For the first time in 300 years, humans breathed free air. They were beyond the cage. They were in the galaxy. Hana had tears on her face. "We did it," she whispered. Taeyang stood and walked back to the window. Behind them, the quarantine barrier flickered and died. The platforms, without targets to shoot, went back to their watching. But there was nothing to watch anymore. The prisoners had escaped. "Open all council frequencies," Taeyang ordered. "It is time to introduce ourselves." The communications officer nodded and opened the channels. Taeyang began to speak, and his words went out across the galaxy. "To the Galactic Council and all who hear this message, I am Admiral Taeyang Kim of the Unified Earth Fleet. For 300 years you imprisoned humanity. You judged us dangerous. You locked us away. Today we have broken your chains. We come to the galaxy not as prisoners seeking permission, but as a free people claiming our right to exist among the stars. We offer peace and cooperation, but we will never accept imprisonment again. We are humanity, and we are free." The message transmitted. Across thousands of light years on hundreds of worlds, billions of aliens would hear those words. The galaxy would learn that humanity had escaped, and nothing would ever be the same. On the council homeworld of Vela Prime, alarms began to sound. In the great crystal chambers where the council met, leaders of 47 species looked at each other in fear. The thing they had feared most had happened. The humans were free. High Counselor Vexthal watched the monitors in shock. His crystalline body, normally shimmering with calm blue light, flashed red with alarm. Around him, the emergency council chamber filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Everyone talked at once. Fear filled the air. The humans had escaped. The impossible had happened. Vexthal was old, even by Torathi standards. He had been alive for 500 years. He remembered when humans first reached out into space, when their primitive ships stumbled into council territory. He remembered the wars they fought among themselves, the weapons they used, the destruction they caused to their own world. He remembered voting to put them in quarantine. It was necessary. It was right. Humans were dangerous, but now they were free. "Order," Vexthal commanded, his voice cutting through the noise. The chamber fell silent. "We must respond immediately. I propose we mobilize the defense fleet and force the humans back into their system." Many council members nodded. But one voice spoke against him. Ambassador Kelsara stood, her feline features calm despite the chaos. She was young, from a species that had only joined the council 200 years ago. She had never seen humans. She had only studied their transmissions. "With respect, High Counselor," Kelsara said, "perhaps we should consider dialogue before violence." The humans sent a message of peace. "Should we not respond in kind?"
"Peace?"
Vexthal's voice dripped with scorn. 300 years ago, humans fought wars over everything. Resources, territory, ideas. They created weapons that could destroy their own planet. They are violence incarnate. That was 300 years ago, Kelsara countered. We have monitored their broadcasts. They unified. They stopped their wars. They restored their planet. They evolved. Should we not give them a chance to prove it? The chamber erupted in argument again. Some agreed with Vexthal. Others supported Kelsara. The council was splitting. This had not happened in centuries. Fleet Commander Tornash listened to it all in silence. He was Krook, a warrior species. His people respected strength, and what the humans had done showed strength. They broke through a barrier that was supposed to be unbreakable. They did it with only 200 ships. That took courage. That took skill. But Tornash was also a soldier. He followed orders. If the council ordered him to fight humans, he would fight. He would win or die trying. Commander Tornash, Vexthal addressed him. What is your assessment? Tornash stood, his scaled body towering over most others in the chamber. High Counselor, I can mobilize 50,000 ships within 3 days. We outnumber the human fleet 250 to 1. If you order it, we will push them back. If we order it? Kelsara caught the phrase. You sound uncertain, Commander. Tornash looked at her. I am a warrior. I recognize warriors when I see them. The humans broke an unbreakable barrier. They did it without firing a shot at us. They sent a message of peace, but their ships are in defensive positions. They are prepared for war if necessary. This tells me they are not reckless. They are strategic. So you suggest we do nothing? Vexthal demanded. I suggest we learn more before we act. Send scouts. Gather intelligence. Then decide. The debate continued for hours. Finally, Vexthal called for a vote. The result was split. Some wanted immediate military action. Some wanted diplomacy. Some wanted more information. The Council could not agree. While the Council argued, humanity moved. Admiral Taeyang had not expected the Council to welcome them with open arms. He had planned for this. The fleet divided into smaller groups. They spread across neutral space, claiming abandoned stations and empty systems. Within 2 days, humanity had established 10 forward bases. They moved fast, like water flowing into cracks. Commander Dejin Lee took a small team on a special mission. His ships were equipped with advanced stealth technology. They approached Council military installations close enough to scan everything, but invisible to sensors. Dejin collected data on ship designs, weapon systems, defense patterns. He learned the Council's capabilities. When he had enough, he did something bold. He transmitted all the data directly to the Council headquarters with a simple message. We know what you can do. Do you know what we can do? The message was clear. Humanity could spy on the Council whenever they wanted. They had technology the Council did not expect. This was psychological warfare. Make the enemy uncertain. Make them afraid. When Vexthal received the data, his crystalline body flashed red again. The humans had been watching them, learning their secrets, and they wanted the Council to know it. Meanwhile, Dr. Hannah Park made her own move. She piloted a small diplomatic ship to Freehaven Station, a trading post outside Council control. It was neutral ground. She sent a message inviting any Council representative who wanted to talk. Ambassador Kelsara received the invitation. Vexthal ordered her not to go, but Kelsara believed dialogue was necessary. She went anyway. The meeting was tense. Hannah and Kelsara sat across from each other in a small room. For a long moment, they just looked at each other, a human and an alien, face to face for the first time in 300 years. Thank you for coming, Hannah said in perfect Livan language. Kelsara's eyes widened. You speak my language. I speak 17 Council languages. I have spent my life preparing for this moment. We want to communicate. We want to coexist. Then why break the quarantine? Why not ask permission first? Hannah's expression hardened. Would you have given permission? For 300 years, the Council kept us locked away. We committed no crime. We were punished for what our ancestors did. That is not justice. That is fear. The Council feared what humans might do, and now they fear what we have done. But we have done nothing except claim our freedom. We have not attacked anyone. We have not threatened anyone. We simply refuse to live in a cage. Kelsara felt the truth in those words. She was empathic, able to sense emotions. She felt Hannah's sincerity. The human truly wanted peace. I believe you, Kelsara said, but many on the Council do not. High Counselor Vexthal is preparing for war. You have days, perhaps hours, before the fleet mobilizes. Then help us prevent that war. Help us find a peaceful solution. How? The Council will not negotiate with prisoners who escaped. Then convince them we are not prisoners anymore. We are a sovereign people. We deserve a place at the table, not behind bars. They talked for hours. Hannah explained humanity's evolution, their unification, their progress. Kelsara listened and learned. When they parted, both felt hope. But both also knew hope might not be enough. On Vela Prime, Vexthal made his decision. The Council was divided, but he would not wait. He issued an ultimatum that broadcast across the galaxy. To the human fleet, you have violated galactic law. You have broken quarantine. You have 72 hours to return to your system. If you do not comply, the full might of the Galactic Council will force you back. This is your only warning. The message reached the Liberation. Taeyang listened to it in silence. His crew waited for his response. Finally, he spoke. "Open a channel." When the channel opened, Taeyang's voice was calm but firm. "To the Galactic Council. We have committed no crime. We have attacked no one. We have taken only what was always ours, our freedom. We will not return to imprisonment. If you choose war, we will defend ourselves. But we offer you something better. We offer a summit. Neutral ground. All parties present. Let us talk before blood is spilled. The choice is yours." Fleet Commander Toranash stood in the command center, watching 50,000 ships assemble. It was the largest military force the Council had gathered in 200 years. Ships from 47 different species, all preparing for one thing: war with humanity. The numbers were overwhelming. 50,000 Council ships against 200 human vessels. It should be easy. It should be quick. But something troubled Toranash. The human ships were positioning defensively. They showed no panic, no desperate movements. They waited with the patience of hunters. Toranash knew that look. It was confidence. But were the humans confident because they were brave or because they knew something the Council did not? His question was answered 3 days later. In the deep darkness beyond the former quarantine zone, something changed. Sensors detected power signatures. Lots of them. Automated shipyards hidden in the outer regions of the human system activated. They had been there for decades, maybe centuries, building in secret and staying dark to avoid detection. Now they powered up. And with them, thousands of ships came online. Minji Song had revealed the truth to the human commanders weeks before. The 200 ships that broke the quarantine were just the beginning. They were the vanguard, the first wave. Behind them waited an entire fleet that had been built in secret. For 300 years, humans had been trapped in their system. But the solar system was enormous. They had asteroids full of metal, moons with ice and minerals, energy from their star. They used it all. They built factories on distant moons. They mined resources from the asteroid belt. They created automated shipyards in the cold darkness where no one would look. The quarantine kept them in, but it gave them time. Time to build, time to prepare, time to make themselves ready for this exact moment. 5,000 ships. That was the true size of the human fleet. Not 200. 5,000. And more were being built every day. The Council's advantage shrank dramatically. 50,000 against 5,000 was still good odds, but not the overwhelming superiority they had counted on. Then came the second shock. The technology. Commander Daejin Lee conducted demonstration missions designed to be seen by Council observers. His ships performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. They used weapons and defenses the Council had never encountered. Energy weapons that should have destroyed human shields simply passed through them harmlessly. The shields used quantum locking technology existing in multiple states at once. Projectile weapons hit, but the ships adapted, their armor reconfiguring in real time. Human ships fought like they were alive. They learned enemy patterns within seconds and adjusted their tactics instantly. Every ship was connected in a vast network, sharing information at the speed of light. When one ship learned something, every ship knew it, and their power systems were unlike anything the Council used. Zero-point energy reactors that drew power from the fabric of space itself. Each ship had nearly unlimited energy. They could fight for days without refueling. The galaxy had been stable for so long that most species stopped innovating. Why improve weapons when there was no war? Why develop new defenses when there was no threat? The Council grew comfortable. They maintained their technology but rarely advanced it. Humans had no such luxury. Trapped and isolated, they had to innovate or die. Every breakthrough was necessary for survival. Every advance brought them closer to freedom. 300 years of forced innovation had pushed them far beyond the Council's technology level. Reports of human capabilities reached the Council chambers. The mood changed from confidence to uncertainty. Some members began to question whether war was wise. Ambassador Kelsara saw her opportunity. She met with Dr. Hannah Park again, this time with greater urgency. "The Council is fracturing," Kelsara said. "Several species are beginning independent negotiations with human representatives. They see opportunity where others see threat." "Good," Hannah replied. "We do not want enemies. We want partners. I have a proposal. What if humanity joined the Council? Not as subordinates, but as equals. Your military strength could protect the galaxy. Your technology could advance all species. But you would have to follow council laws like everyone else. Hana considered this carefully. The council kept us imprisoned for 300 years. Why would we trust them now? Because the council can change. Because not everyone agreed with the quarantine. Because the galaxy is large and there are threats you do not yet know about. Alone, humanity is strong. But together, we could be stronger. I will take this to Admiral Taiyang. Before diplomacy could advance, hardline elements in the council fleet made a decision. They would test human capabilities. A small attack force of 12 cruisers moved toward a human outpost. They were not authorized by the council. They acted on their own, believing that humans would crumble under pressure. They were wrong. The outpost was defended by a single destroyer, the Indomitable, commanded by Daejin Lee. When the 12 cruisers approached, Daejin opened communications. Council vessels, you are entering human territory. Turn back. The council cruisers ignored the warning and opened fire. What happened next stunned everyone watching. The battle lasted 4 minutes. The Indomitable moved like nothing the council ships had seen. It dodged weapons fire that should have hit. Its shields absorbed impacts that should have destroyed it. Its return fire was precise and controlled. One by one, the council cruisers lost power. Their weapon systems failed. Their engines shut down, but none of them were destroyed. None of their crews were killed. The Indomitable disabled all 12 ships without taking a single life. When the battle ended, Daejin transmitted a message to the disabled ships and to the entire council fleet watching. We did not want this fight. We could have destroyed you, but we chose not to. This is not because we are weak. This is because we are civilized. We do not kill when we can disable. We do not destroy when we can preserve. But make no mistake, if you force us into real war, we will defend ourselves, and you will lose. The message was clear. Humanity had shown mercy, but they had also shown capability. They fought with honor, but they fought to win. Fleet Commander Tornash reviewed the battle data again and again. The tactical efficiency was astounding. The technology was beyond anything he had imagined. And the restraint, the choice not to kill, that showed something even more important. It showed discipline. He made a decision that would change everything. He contacted Admiral Taiyang directly, using a secure military channel. Admiral Taiyang, this is Fleet Commander Tornash of the Council Defense Forces. I wish to speak with you. Commander to commander, warrior to warrior. Taiyang accepted the communication. The two military leaders saw each other for the first time. A human and a Krook, two warriors from different worlds. You fight well, Tornash said simply. As do your people, Taiyang replied. But I hope we do not have to test each other further. I have seen your capabilities. I have reviewed the battle data. If the Council fleet attacks your forces, many will die, on both sides. This serves no one. Then help us find another way. I will try. But I need you to understand something. The Council fears you because they do not understand you. Show them who you really are, not through demonstrations of force but through actions that prove your intentions. What would you suggest? Accept the summit. Meet with the Council openly. Make your case. Let them see that humans are not mindless aggressors but thinking beings who seek justice. Taiyang thought about this. Then he nodded. Very well, Commander. Tell the Council we accept. We will meet at Freehaven Station. Neutral ground. All parties welcome. Let us see if words can accomplish what weapons cannot. Freehaven Station hung in the darkness between star systems. It was old, built centuries ago by traders who wanted a place free from government control. Now it would host the most important meeting in galactic history. Representatives from 47 council species arrived in their ships. Humans came in a single vessel, the Liberation. Outside the station, both the council fleet and human fleet waited at a distance. Everyone was armed. Everyone was ready. But for now, they would talk. The main chamber was circular, with seats arranged so everyone could see each other. High Counselor Vexthal sat in the center, his crystalline body glowing with nervous energy. Around him sat the representatives of every council member species. Admiral Taiyang, Dr. Hana Park, and Commander Daejin Lee represented humanity. The room was silent as everyone settled. Then Vexthal spoke. Let us be clear about why we are here, he began. Humanity has broken galactic law. They escaped quarantine. They refused to return. Now they demand recognition as equals. But equality must be earned through trust and compliance, not force and defiance. He presented his proposal. Humans would be allowed limited membership in the council. They could trade and communicate with other species, but they would be monitored constantly. Their military would be restricted. They would have no voting rights for at least 50 years. It was essentially a different kind of cage. Admiral Tai Yang listened without expression. When Vexthal finished, Tai Yang stood. "High Counselor, I respect your position, but I must speak plainly. Your proposal is unacceptable." Murmurs ran through the chamber. No one spoke to Vexthal so directly. "We will not trade one prison for another." Tai Yang continued. "You wish to monitor us because you fear us. But your fear is based on actions committed 300 years ago by people who are long dead. We are not our ancestors. We have evolved. We have unified. We have created a peaceful civilization." Dr. Hannah Park stood beside him. She activated a holographic display that showed humanity's proposal. It was detailed and comprehensive. "We offer the following," Hannah said in perfect council common language. "First, immediate recognition of humanity as a sovereign species with full council rights and responsibilities. Second, we will share our defensive technologies with all council members. Third, human fleets will serve as defenders of council space against external threats. Fourth, we will open our borders for trade, cultural exchange, and education. Fifth, we will submit to the same laws and oversight as any other council species." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some called the proposal too generous. Others called it too demanding. But everyone was talking. Then Fleet Commander Tornash stood. The room fell silent. As military commander, his opinion carried weight. "I have fought many battles," Tornash said. "I have studied warfare for my entire life. And I tell you this, the Council needs warriors. We have grown soft during centuries of peace, but threats exist. Pirates grow bolder. Rogue AI networks expand. Hive minds at the Galactic Rim become more aggressive. The Council military is not prepared for serious conflict." He gestured toward the humans. "These people are warriors. They did not forget how to fight. They refined it. They advanced it. They offer to be our sword and shield. The question is not whether to accept them. The question is whether we can afford to refuse them." His words had impact. Several representatives nodded in agreement. Minji Song, the young engineer, asked permission to speak. She was not officially part of the diplomatic team, but Tai Yang allowed it. She stepped forward with her characteristic enthusiasm. "I want to show you something," Minji said. She displayed data on the holographic screens. "This is analysis of the quarantine barrier. The automated platforms that kept us imprisoned. The data showed degradation patterns, power systems failing, weapon systems wearing out. The platforms were old, maintained by automated systems that could not fully repair them. According to our calculations, the quarantine barrier would have collapsed on its own within 100 years. We knew this 10 years ago." Shocked silence filled the chamber. "You knew?" Vexthal demanded. "Then why break through now?" Minji smiled. "Because we could. Because waiting another century would have meant more generations living and dying in captivity. Because we wanted to break free on our terms, not simply wait for our prison to crumble. The revelation changed the atmosphere. Humanity's breakout was not desperation. It was choice. It was a demonstration of capability. They broke through when they were ready, not when they had to. Ambassador Kelsera seized the moment. She stood and addressed the chamber. "High Counselor representatives, I have met with humans. I have spoken with them at length. I am empathic. I sense emotions, and I tell you that their desire for peace is genuine. They do not seek domination. They seek recognition." She turned to face Vexthal directly. "The quarantine was a mistake. It was based on fear, not justice. Humans 300 years ago were violent, yes, but so were many species before they joined the Council. The Krook fought wars for centuries before they found peace. The Velden nearly destroyed themselves with biological weapons. The Mytha experimented on other species. Yet all of them were given chances to prove themselves. Why do we deny humans the same opportunity?" Vextal's crystalline body flashed red. He was losing control of the chamber. Representatives who had supported him now looked uncertain. "Because accepting humanity sets a dangerous precedent," Vextal argued. "It tells every species that defiance is rewarded, that breaking laws is acceptable if you are strong enough." Kelsera shook her head. "No. It tells the galaxy that the Council can admit mistakes, that we can grow, that we judge species by their present actions, not their ancient history. Fear is not a foundation for civilization. Justice is." The debate continued for days. Representatives argued. They negotiated. They made proposals and counter-proposals. Humans waited patiently, answering every question, addressing every concern. Commander Daejin Lee spoke rarely, but when he did, his words carried weight. He described the suffering of living in quarantine. He described generations born and dying without ever seeing the stars freely. He described the determination that kept humanity going through 300 years of isolation. "We do not ask for sympathy," Daejin said. "We ask for justice. We ask to be judged by who we are now, not who we were then." Finally, after 7 days of discussion, Vexthal called for a vote. The proposal was modified slightly. Humanity would receive full council membership, but with a 5-year probationary period. During this time, their actions would be observed. If they proved peaceful and cooperative, full permanent status would follow. It was not perfect, but it was fair. The vote was called. Representatives entered their decisions. The chamber was silent as the results compiled. 27 species voted in favor. 15 voted against. 5 abstained. Humanity was accepted. The chamber erupted. Some cheered. Some protested. But the decision was made. For the first time in 300 years, humans were recognized as equals by the galaxy. Admiral Taiyang stood and bowed respectfully to the council. "Thank you. We will prove ourselves worthy of your trust." Outside the station, both fleets received the news. Human crews celebrated. Council crews felt mixed emotions. Some were relieved that war was avoided. Some were uncertain about the future. But everyone understood that the galaxy had changed forever. The quarantine was over. Humanity was free. Now they had 5 years to prove they deserved that freedom. 5 years to show the galaxy who they really were. 5 years passed like water flowing through open fingers. Earth, once isolated and alone, became a center of activity. Ships from dozens of species visited human space. Humans traveled to alien worlds. What began as cautious diplomatic exchanges grew into genuine friendships and partnerships. Dr. Hannah Park had become humanity's primary ambassador to the Council. She worked tirelessly to build bridges between species. Thousands of aliens studied on Earth, learning human languages and culture. Thousands of humans traveled outward, discovering the wonders of the galaxy they had been denied for so long. Human technology spread throughout Council space. The quantum shields that had protected human ships now protected entire planets. The distributed intelligence networks improved Council military coordination. Human engineers worked alongside alien colleagues, sharing knowledge and learning from each other. The 5-year probationary period was almost over. The Council would soon vote on permanent membership. But before that vote could happen, the galaxy faced its greatest crisis in centuries. They came from beyond the mapped regions of space. The Crick Swarm, a hive-mind civilization that consumed everything in its path. They were not like individual species. They were one vast intelligence controlling billions of bodies. They moved like a plague, overwhelming entire star systems. The Council had known about the Cricks for centuries. They were kept at bay by the distance of space and occasional defensive actions. But something had changed. The Cricks had grown stronger. They had adapted. Now they launched a full invasion into Council territory. The first battles went badly for the Council. Their fleets used standard tactics that had worked for centuries. But the Cricks adapted within hours. What worked in the first engagement failed in the second. By the third battle, the Cricks had learned to counter every Council strategy. Thousands of ships were destroyed. Millions died. Panic spread across the galaxy. The Council military, built for peacekeeping and small conflicts, was not prepared for total war. In an emergency session, the Council made a desperate decision. They appointed Admiral Taiyang Kim as Supreme Commander of all Council defense forces. They gave him full authority to coordinate the war effort. It was an unprecedented move. A human, barely 5 years removed from quarantine, now commanded the entire galactic military. Taiyang accepted the responsibility without hesitation. He immediately implemented human military doctrine. No more predictable patterns. No more standard tactics. Every engagement would use different strategies. The Cricks could adapt to patterns, but they could not adapt to chaos. Human forces led the counterattack. They used unconventional warfare, hitting supply lines and communication nodes. They employed psychological operations, creating false signals to confuse the hive mind. They made technological feints, showing one capability while hiding another. The tide of war began to turn. The Krix, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with numbers and adaptation, faced something they had never encountered: unpredictability, creativity, the uniquely human approach to warfare. But winning battles was not enough. The Krix swarm was too vast. They would keep coming until they were destroyed at the source. Someone needed to strike at the heart of the hive mind. Someone needed to reach the central nexus where the swarm intelligence was coordinated. It was a suicide mission. The nexus was deep in Krix territory, protected by billions of warriors. No force could fight its way there. But a small team using stealth might have a chance. Commander Daejin Lee volunteered to lead the mission. He selected a team of specialists from both human and alien forces. Together, they would attempt the impossible. Before departing, Daejin spoke with Taeyang privately. "You know we probably will not return," Daejin said quietly. "I know. But if anyone can succeed, it is you. Tell Earth that we did not die as prisoners. We died as free people defending our home and our allies. I will tell them you died as heroes." The team departed in stealth ships designed by Minji Song. She had created technology that made them nearly invisible to Krix sensors. They moved through enemy territory like ghosts, avoiding detection, slipping past defenses. It took 3 weeks to reach the nexus. 3 weeks of constant danger. Several team members died along the way, sacrificing themselves to protect the mission, but Daejin pushed forward. He would not fail. Not this time. They reached the nexus station, a massive biological structure orbiting a dying star. The hive mind's consciousness resided there, coordinating trillions of Krix across thousands of light years. The team infiltrated the structure. They moved through organic corridors filled with neural tissue and pulsing connections. At the center, they found what they sought: the core of the hive mind. Minji had designed a quantum disruptor specifically to interfere with hive mind communication. It would not destroy the nexus, but it would fracture the unified intelligence. The Krix would become separated, confused, unable to coordinate. Daejin activated the device. The effect was immediate. The nexus convulsed. Across the galaxy, Krix forces suddenly lost coordination. They stopped moving as one and began acting independently. Some attacked each other. Some simply stopped, confused and directionless. The Council fleets, led by human tactics, struck hard. They eliminated the scattered Krix forces systematically. Within days, the invasion collapsed. The greatest threat the Council had faced in centuries was defeated. Against all odds, Daejin and 3 members of his team survived. They escaped the Nexus before it imploded and were rescued by Council ships. When they returned to Council space, they were greeted as heroes. The war ended in total victory. The Krix threat was eliminated, and humanity's role in that victory changed everything. Even High Counselor Vexthal, who had opposed humanity from the beginning, publicly acknowledged his mistake. In a formal ceremony broadcast across the galaxy, he presented Admiral Taeyang with the Council's highest military honor. "I was wrong," Vexthal said, his crystalline body glowing with sincere blue light. "I judged humanity by fear instead of evidence. I apologize on behalf of my species for the 3 centuries of unjust imprisonment. You have proven yourselves not as threats, but as the galaxy's greatest defenders." Taeyang accepted the honor with grace. "We do not seek apologies for the past. We seek partnership for the future. Together, we are stronger than we ever could be apart." When the Council voted on humanity's permanent membership, the result was unanimous. 47 species, all in favor, 0 against. Humanity was fully recognized as an equal member of galactic civilization. The automated platforms that had enforced the quarantine were dismantled. Some were converted into peaceful orbital stations. Others were scrapped for materials. The barrier that had imprisoned humanity for 300 years was gone forever. Fleet Commander Tornash and Admiral Taeyang became close friends. They worked together to reform Council military doctrine, combining human innovation with Krook warrior tradition. Their partnership became a model for cooperation between species. Ambassador Kelsara and Dr. Hannah Park expanded cultural exchange programs. Millions of humans and aliens traveled between worlds, learning from each other, building friendships that crossed species boundaries. Minji Song led joint exploration missions into uncharted space. Human ships and alien vessels worked side by side, discovering new worlds and new possibilities. Years later, Admiral Taeyang stood on an observation deck looking out at the stars. Human and alien ships moved together in the darkness, partners in the great adventure of exploring the galaxy. He thought about his great-grandmother, who had witnessed the quarantine begin. She had died waiting for freedom. He thought about all the generations who lived and died in captivity. He wished they could see this moment, but perhaps they could. Perhaps in some way all those who had suffered and hoped and dreamed of freedom were here now, in the hearts of those who finally achieved it. The quarantine was meant to contain humanity, to keep them locked away until they destroyed themselves or evolved into something harmless. But it did neither. Instead, it forged them into something stronger. It gave them purpose. It gave them unity. It gave them 300 years to prepare for this exact moment. They broke free not through violence or revenge, but through determination and capability. They earned their place not through conquest, but through contribution. They proved themselves not by dominating others, but by protecting them. And now finally they were home. Not just in the Sol system, but in the galaxy itself. They belonged among the stars. They had always belonged there. The Council had feared what humans might do. But they learned what humans actually were. Survivors, innovators, warriors when necessary, but peacemakers when possible. A species that refused to be broken by centuries of injustice. Taeyang smiled as he watched a human transport dock with an alien station. On that transport were families, students, merchants, explorers. Normal people living normal lives. But doing it freely across the galaxy as equals among equals. That was what the struggle had been for. Not just the right to travel or trade or fight, but the right to exist, to be free, to take their place among the stars as they always should have. The quarantine was over. Humanity was home.